When your yarn comes like this, you have to wind it into your own workable ball using a swift. This thing will hold your yarn and then you spin it. If you try to pull the yarn from here without winding it up first, you're going to have major problems. I know this is kind of a weird angle, but the way my house is set up, this is what works. So I have my swift attached to the desk. So this thing adjusts. You can change the size so that it fits exactly however much yarn you've got. Now there is a little, yours might look slightly different. So mine has a wooden thing underneath. I'm going to tighten it just a little so that I can get this on. And then I'm going to have to hold it and raise it up just a little bit more so that it's actually on there. Then I can raise this up the rest of the way and finish tightening it. We want to get this on the other side. Whoops. There we go. So you will usually see that throughout this section, it'll be kind of kept together. These pieces of yarn are keeping it so that it doesn't get tangled when they were twisting it. So we can, sometimes you have to cut them off if they're a single piece. Sometimes they are the string just looped in a different way, and I don't like wasting my yarn. So what I want to do is find the big knot. This big knot is where I will probably cut. Sometimes you can pull. That one's no good. I really don't like wasting my yarn, so I take the time to unravel it, but you could just cut the knot off if you wanted. This one happens to be Hobby Unicorn, and so this is how they tie theirs up. Different hanks will be tied differently, so that part I can't necessarily tell you, but you can see there are 4 ends. What kind of a hank of yarn needs 4 ends? Well, that's because something around here is just for tying. So we'll just follow one string and see what happens. Here we go. So this one has got to a knot area. We need to take this knot away because we don't need it to be, you can see there's a knot here. It's just to hold these yarn together. So this one is probably garbage. It's too small to really do anything with it, but I'm never sure. What if I change my mind? So I'm just gonna undo it. 3 minutes later. Okay, so this yarn is very short little piece that's just knotted to keep this from being tangled when they were packaging it. So that, we don't need that. Which means probably this tail is actually my yarn. So I'm just gonna go back the other direction instead. And let's find out where this comes. So it's probably one end that is actually my yarn and one end that's just keeping this yarn together here. So that it's, I mean, it's a long stretch, but it's nothing really. So now we've got 2 ends and there probably isn't anything else tied. So what are we gonna do? We've got 2 ends. You're gonna pick one of the ends. I don't think it matters, but someone can tell me, does it matter? And you're gonna have to wind this into a cake. If you have a fancy stick or a tube, there are different ways to wind it. I like to use my actual yarn winder. So I have checked along the sides here and we have another piece of yarn that is keeping everything together, which obviously I can't wind it if it's being held together. So we need to get rid of that one. The yarn winder is my preferred way of doing it. It's quick, it's easy, but I know there are other ways of changing your yarn into a ball or into a cake. Whatever you want to do is fine. Now that you've got it on the Swift, it's way easier. So my angles are a bit wrong for this because my yarn winder wants the yarn to come from that direction, but it's actually over here. So I'm going to have to use my arm to kind of create a triangle here and also manage the tension. So once you get going, the Swift should turn and turn and turn on its own. So just keep going. Once you get it started, it should just keep going. You don't want to go too fast because then things can bounce, but obviously you don't want to go too slow. Otherwise it defeats the purpose of having tools that help you. So we're just going to go quite slow at the beginning because we're not sure where things are twisted. And this tail, I'm going to put it in because it's for the end of our skein or hank or cake, whatever we're doing. And you can, I don't know, maybe you can't tell, but it's quite tight right now, what I'm trying to accomplish on the winder. So we are going to wind it onto the cake winder machine twice. The first one is to get it off of this weird contraption, the Swift. I'm not sure why it's called a Swift, because it works swiftly, I guess. But on this machine here, it's quite tight, and I don't want my yarn to get stretched out before I even get to use it. It's got a merino wool blend, so I don't want that wool to be all wrecked. So I'm just going to try and twist this the whole side. It seems like it wants to come from inside the hank. There, that's much better. Gets stuck every now and then, but it should fix itself. And we're going. We're doing it. So that's how it works. 30 seconds later, I had a curious visitor. And this whole process from hank to little cake on my machine and with recording took me about 15 to 20 minutes. So the process doesn't take too long. So the first cake has been wound, but inside there it is very tight, and in some places the tension went really low on my winder because of the way the tension had changed. So I need to rewind this to make sure that there's no tangles and to make sure that it's not like super tight in one place and like loose in another, because I just don't want my yarn to be wrecked. So I pull from the center. I usually put it on the floor, rewind it. Hope you can see the difference between these two blue cakes. The one close to my hand has been wound twice. You see that the other one is tighter. There's a tangle coming out the middle. This one is directly from the Swift into a cake, and then I wind it twice so that we get the one that's loftier and there's not as much strain being put on each of the fibers, so that I can use my yarn and it will still feel brand new.